Hi Soundies, so this is the next stage. You've just done the tutorial where you import a movie and a sound effect into Logic Pro X. So next, to work on this movie, The Door, we need to actually look at it and decide what sound effects we actually want and to make some notes. So I'll just go through this process with you. I'm going to open up the main window and then I'm going to click. Can you see in the top corner here, in the top right hand corner, we've got notepads. So I click on there, double click there to set it up. So The Door SFX. I'm going to type Atmos, Foley, Special. Okay, so as I've said before, there's no dialogue in this film, so I've not actually put any dialogue notes down. Right, so let's just press play. So we're just going to watch this through, and every time I see something that I want to make a note of, I'm going to press pause and then make a note of that. So here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to press stop there. Atmos, woodland, daytime, Foley, girl, noises, maybe it'll be something in the sound effects library, giggling girl, something like that. Yeah, so woodland atmos, or kind of a field atmos, but there's woodland there, as you can see. So kind of bird song, insect, oops, spell it correctly, sounds, maybe some light wind. So I want to create the atmosphere here. So let's carry on playing. Woodland 2 in the wood, because he was in a field before. So he's now in the wood, so that might be a slightly different atmos. Foley, footsteps on grass, and I'm going to put live Foley. So rather than try and find a sound effect of somebody walking on grass, I'm going to do a live Foley, which I shall demonstrate as this exercise progresses, either in this clip, well, not in this clip, because this clip is just going to be deconstructing the visual narrative to decide what sound effects we actually want. So footsteps on grass, more girl sounds by the sound of it, giggling. If we can get giggling, that would be great. In fact, girl noises, giggling, if possible. Okay, so moving on. Right, so footsteps on the bridge. Now that was done in a bit of slow motion. So girl on bridge. I'm going to put a couple of question marks there, because will she make a sound? Because she's not of this world, as we'll find out when we progress through the rest of the film. But he definitely is. So man, footsteps on bridge, and also in atmos, river, stroke stream, stroke babbling brook. We never see the actual babbling brook, but we can infer from context as he looks down. He could be just walking over some kind of, I don't know, some kind of ditch kind of thing. but let's assume that there is a little babbling brook. Okay, so yeah, he's walking, so we need to sync those footsteps up. It's quite tricky because we can't actually see the feet. So we'll have to go to the rhythm, his movement. Oh, look, she vanishes there. Let me just go back a bit on that. Let's stop that. Let's just go back a little bit to see her. And she goes into the hedge, but she kind of vanishes. That gives us the sense that she is not of this world. So maybe not footsteps for her. But I wonder whether we should have, look at those keys right there. Maybe that could be a little motif for her, sort of kind of key jangling. So I'm going to put in Foley key jangles, like so. So carrying on. There we are, disappearing. More footsteps on grass. More live Foley. So I don't need to add the and that's another special effect. So that's going to be a special effect. So I'm just going to play that again. Oh, it's definitely an effect, that is. So under special, girl in bushes, ghost, question mark. Groovy. Okay, moving on. Right. Man pushes through bushes, and again that's going to be a live Foley. More giggling maybe. Right, let's have a look. Let's actually have a look at this image. We stay on it for quite a while. Okay, just all the way down here. So quite a while it stays. So more footsteps for the man. It's quite a wide image, and this is a church. So Atmos, church bell, because why not? I mean, there's a church. Why not have a bell? And we're going to go back to the woodland daytime effect, because this is a field. So we've got woodland sounds, but they're not going to be as immersive as when we were actually in the woods. So we're going to use several different types of woodland effect. Anyway, carrying on. Definitely need a church bell just to add a bit of something happening for this quite long scene. Okay. Right, so more footsteps on grass. Also, can you see his hand trails the ivy on the bush there and there? So maybe a little bit. I'm going to put Foley. Hand on ivy, growing on wall. Okay. Constant footsteps. Oh, little flashes. That'll be girl giggles and key jangles. More footsteps, which need to be mixed. We probably don't hear the footsteps by this time, but we'll have mixed it down. Also, we're in a churchyard, so Atmos, church yard, Atmos. So we're going to move away from the woodlandy kind of chirpy, cheep kind of sounds of the woodland with the woodpeckers and all those kind of things. Here it's going to be a little bit more kind of restrained, and I think carrion birds, crows, rooks, that kind of sound. So in fact, I'm going to put in brackets crows, rooks, etc. Okay, moving on. A little bit of wind there, maybe a little bit of ghosting through the branches, more kind of special effect. We need a motif for this girl that develops through the course of the film. We certainly need to signify a presence. Yet more footsteps. The more I see this, the more I think, yes, live Foley. Otherwise we'll be cutting and pasting grass footsteps on. Oh. We'll be, you know, cut and pasting that for ages is much better. And I'm going to show you how to have walking on grass, those kind of sounds. But we need Foley key dragged on grave stone. If I spelt it right, graves there. Okay, moving on. Do we have some breath sounds for him? Oh, we see him breathing. Maybe. That's something that we can think of. In fact, in this kind of list, you put down everything that occurs to you, even if it might not make it to the last. If you don't try it, you don't know whether it works or not. Maybe a little bit of non-diegetic build here. We might look at doing some music. That will be later on in the course. Oop. Okay. So what we have there is a door closing. So that's Foley church door closing, followed by, as we can see, church door on latch opening. Potential for a few nice creaky sounds here. There'll be something in the sound effects library for that. Possibly because I know the sound effects library quite well. Something in Spectacular Sound Effects Volume 2, perhaps. Anyway, carrying on to play. There's the latch. Slunk. Door. Footsteps, maybe? I don't know. Very light. Okay. Footsteps in church. Man, footsteps in church. It's also important. Have you noticed what kind of shoes he's been wearing throughout this? They're sneakers. So sneakers on stone, wherever possible. And don't forget, we're going to have an interior reverb effect on all the sounds that are happening within this space. Footsteps. Ooh, church door slam. Something big and heightened, I think. Okay. Shot in low light by the looks of it. Look at all that gribbly stuff. And it's been color corrected to within an inch of its life. This was all edited on. Oh, here we go. Right, okay, this is interesting. So we've got this shot. So we've got the jangling keys. Let's go back a little bit to her. There we are. You can see the keys there. So we've got more key jangle. Live Foley, I think. We need to find some a nice set of sort of biggie keys to jangle about. We can just get ordinary keys and slow them down slightly using the sampler. Again, something we'll look at later. So jangling keys. Here we are. We've got this kind of big wide image. Is there anything else that could be here? This is a sound design element in the sense that this isn't meat and potatoes. We've been dealing with meat and potato sounds to signify environment and sounds to signify actions. This is pretty much what we've been concentrating on, whilst also understanding that we have to have some kind of effect or motif for this girl, who is probably the door, whatever the hell the door means. So would there be any music playing? Would there be any sound slightly off the diegetic frame? That's a design decision. and I leave that to you. I'm not entirely sure what I would put in, whether it would be diegetic sound, maybe some people singing a hymn, or some kids singing a nursery rhyme with a bit of reverb to make it sound freaky and weird, or whether I would use some non-diegetic tension music. But anyway, carrying on. Oh, definitely key jangles there. More footsteps. Some key jangles. Oh, and iron gate opens. Another squeak, but a bit of a lighter squeak. There we go. Reminds me a little bit of the opening sequence of Man with a Movie Camera. Footsteps, key jangles, gate slams. And also, it cuts to black. It's the end of the film. Go by the titles. If there are any titles. There we are, the door. There we are, George Mackenzie, Ruby, whoever she is. Okay, so, God, names from the past. And then we have it. That's pretty much it. We might have some outro music there. So this iron gate slam shut needs to have it, because it cuts on the slam, it needs to have a little bit of a heightened effect, I think, rather than a naturalistic effect. And there's nothing naturalistic about this film other than the man. So we've got a mix between a man who is very much of this earth. We hear every footstep, we hear every breath sound. And then we have this girl who is a manifestation from another world or another time. And so she must, the sounds that she makes, apart from the girl giggle, which can be kind of freaky within this context, maybe with a little bit of reverb, maybe a few effects as it progresses. We need to create a motif for that. We'll do that at the very end. We'll do the meat and potato stuff first, because this is the first film that you've been working on. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's the list. We'll just save, because it'll save that list. You don't have to type your list into the notes in Logic. You can write them down on a piece of paper, and I tend to be a pen and paper kind of guy. I always have my notepad with me where I can jot in stuff, but it's also quite handy to have these here, because those notes will follow you everywhere, and you can make notes to yourself, and particularly for the second years that have to do a portfolio weighted at 20% of your overall mark at the end. Making notes for your process, even if it's not sound to picture, but just making notes about why you're doing stuff, will really help you with that portfolio. And I'd be quite happy to have a screenshot of those notes as part of that portfolio. Anyway, I think that's done for today, for this particular class. Well done. Go and have a cup of tea.